Welcome
Good
back,
morning.
sir.
How are we doing this morning?
Oh, I could not be better.
I tell you what, the weather is beautiful, and LSU beat Bama. I tell you what, look, that was nerve-wracking and exciting, but it has set the tone moving forward.
So it has, but how do we set the tone without raising expectation through the roof? This is still a first-year coach. This still is a team that preseason
this is still
was a
LSU,
I
right?
understand.
LSU, and for LSU, we got to win. The coach has got to win.
I understand that.
I'm a Tiger through and through. I'm purple and gold. If you nick me, it's purple and gold coming out. I spent a lot of quality years at LSU.
So, but along with that, though, yes, with the old joke, the perfect season for an LSU football fan is to go undefeated, unscored on, win the national championship, and fire the coach.
Okay.
I don't
understand.
I'm trying to keep things tempered, and it's hard to when you beat Alabama.
I know it is. It is, but it was exciting. I tell you what, that was a gutsy call. I'm driving across the causeway, and I hear the call, and I say, "What?" My wife says, "Hold the steering wheel. Just hold on that steering wheel. Stay in the lane. Pay attention. Drive the truck." I said, "Okay, baby. Okay." And they call it, and then they have the timeout. That was like being in purgatory. Mm-hmm. That timeout was so long, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and then they have the play, and everybody goes crazy.
It was glorious. It was absolutely glorious. Heading up to Arkansas, 11 a.m. kickoff this weekend for LSU. It'll be on our sister station, as it always is. Eagle 98.1's game day will start at 7 a.m. All right, let's get down to business. We got ag business to talk about right now. Let's talk sweet potatoes to start off with.
What's happening is because of the foreign exchange rate. So the dollar has been very strong against foreign currency. If you look at the value of the euro and the value of the pound, they've reached 40 years lows. Mm-hmm. I mean, the euro got below $1. It was at 98 cents. And so what's happening, the sweet potato industry in the United States has a large European market. Well, now we've lost that market because our dollar is so high compared to theirs, and they're buying from other parts of the world. Okay. What that means is that we got sweet potatoes backing up. And so the issue that I'm dealing with my farmers is that they're being told that there's not sufficient outlet for their sweet potatoes. So how do we remedy that? It's real simple. Tell everybody, buy Louisiana sweet potatoes. Buy fresh, buy local. If you want, the business to continue, because this is going to be temporary. The money is going to equilibrate. We're probably going to see, going into next year, we're probably going to see some equalization there. But believe it or not, we look at the economy of the United States and all the issues that we're facing, the struggles we're facing, it's far worse in Europe and in Asia and in China. It's much worse. And so this has all got to level out, and, trying to deal with inflation through economic recession has real consequences. And we're seeing that now in what's happening on our different markets. And so we're going to be working hard. I have a meeting I'll be meeting with all my sweet potato growers, next month at their annual meeting, and that's when the Sweet Potato Commission comes into play. But for Thanksgiving, buy sweet potatoes, because sweet potatoes, they're a very good bargain. You can get them at your local supermarkets at about $1.39 a pound, and and there's nothing healthier. And what I like to, especially if you're going to be when you boil crawfish, boil those sweet potatoes. And whatever's left over, wrap them in tin foil and put them in the refrigerator. And then when you cook that steak or you cook whatever you're going to cook, put them on there and heat them up again. Oh, my goodness. That just doesn't get any better than that.
Sweet potato in the crawfish boil is one of the best kept secrets around.
That's right.
It's ridiculous. Right. Mm-hmm. My cousin, he'll quarter them before throwing them in.
Yes.
And then, they throw them in a bag so they don't get all.
Do you make sweet potato soup? Have you ever done that?
No, I've never made sweet potato soup.
Well, you just take your sweet potatoes and I like to get. And if you're in a hurry, you can use the canned sweet potatoes. But if not, use the whole sweet potatoes. And you cook them down. And then what you do is I peel them, and then I will almost to a rough puree. Just kind of rough. But then you got to add in some heavy cream, right? And a little bit of cinnamon, of course. And you talk about good, delicious. Okay. Oh, yes.
I will give that a shot.
Absolutely.
I will definitely give that a try.
Absolutely.
Sure.
But you've got to have sweet potatoes for Thanksgiving.
So when we talk about buying Louisiana, I always ask the question, how do we know? How do we know they're Louisiana sweet potatoes? Do we run the risk of having sweet potatoes that aren't from Louisiana in Louisiana?
Not if they're advertising certified Louisiana, a product of certified. Yeah, you see that? Fresh, local, certified Louisiana. And if you look at the different, and we call it, the table potatoes, and you're looking for that, Garber Farms, for instance, here locally, you can get individual sweet potatoes, individually cellophane wrapped. So what we tell everybody, when you go to the supermarket, you go to the grocery, go to the local section first and look at that and get those local products. But that's how we continue to expand the local economy. Sweet potato industry in Louisiana at the farm level is a $50 million a year business.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have about 7,600 acres. And so, but we'd like to expand that back up to 8 or 10 or 12,000 acres. If you look at the state of North Carolina, they have 100,000 acres. So it's a huge industry. And again, it's a very good business, but we've got to buy those potatoes. If we talk about what's happening with the shrimp industry, right? We need to buy local shrimp.
Why? And that's why I asked the question, is because I know to ask for local shrimp. I know to ask for local crawfish. What I don't know is, would it even be possible that sweet potatoes would be coming from somewhere else?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It could be. And so that's why if you look at, we have marketing agreements, because one of the things in the United States, you cannot prohibit the movement of goods across state lines unless it is for disease purposes. And the word is phytosanitary. But if you look at, we have specific regions where you can, bring potatoes, weevil-free, areas. In other words, that's one of the things we look at. But it could be Mississippi potatoes. It could be from elsewhere.
Okay.
And so look for certified Louisiana and, look at the name. Now, look, everybody goes to the store. They've got their smartphone, right?
Yes.
See the name on the sweet potatoes. See where they're grown.
Okay.
Yeah,
that takes 10 seconds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But also, if you tell your grocer, say, look, I want those Louisiana sweet potatoes.
Right.
For instance, if you say, I want Garber Farms, or whichever farm that you want to buy them from, say, look, do you have any of those? And if you ask, they'll get them.
Okay.
They'll get them.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Back to the export side of this, the value of the dollar being one thing, that's only exacerbated by, are we still looking at the problems with the river levels?
Well, what's happening with the river levels, and especially in the last few days, it's reached another critical level where we have very, very low water levels. And what's happening on the river, freight has went from about $29, per ton. Now it's up to about $100 per ton.
Oh, goodness.
We've about 70+% of the freight that normally moves on the river is not moving on the river. So as we're talking about today, the big issue today is fertilizer and heating oil. Fertilizer and oil. You think about the Mississippi River, you got to think of 13,000 miles of waterways, inland waterways. And so when you start looking at it, instead of, having those 13 barge tows, they are in double stacking or triple stacking them, they're going one wide in a lot of areas because the river's too narrow. And instead of putting in 13, 14 feet of cargo, they're going to 6. And so it is a huge issue and continues to be an issue.
And still no end in sight.
Well, not really, because it takes a massive amount of water.
Right.
And we've already released water from the different reservoirs up and down the entire Mississippi River system. And so we're going to need really the fall snow and winter snow and the spring rains to bring that river back up. So we have to be cognizant. And the other thing is that with this in mind, we really know what's the other way to transport goods is rail.
Yes.
And so this impending rail strike, that cannot happen. It cannot happen.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up because I had that on the back burner to bring up during this. Is when you look at the difference between rail and barge, cost versus volume and whatnot.
So a 13 barge tow is the same as 200 rail cars or 800 tractor trailers. So put that in perspective.
Okay.
The cheapest way to move product is by water. Next is rail, and then by truck.
Right.
And so if you're trying to move all the product we're moving by water, you don't have enough truck and rail to do that. So we have to have all three working together. But for a long time in this country, we started pulling up rail tracks. We need to put rail back in the ground and build these chambering yards. So all of our export facilities, we want to have it multimodal, where barge, tractor trailer, and rail. And have chambering yards where you can bring in 160 cars at a time. And that's what we've done here at the Port of Baton Rouge.
Port of Baton Rouge, very underrated as far as ports go. Very underrated.
If for a long time, nothing happened. Now, when you get up on the river, look left and right, just right there, and look at those beautiful facilities. You have Louis Dreyfus right there. Then you have Drax on the other side. Drax moving wood products, and then you have all of the where they move bulk cargo. But if you think the port of South Louisiana between Baton Rouge and New Orleans is the largest tonnage port system in the hemisphere. from Baton Rouge to New Orleans is the largest port system in the world. And it's here in Louisiana. We need to take full advantage of that. And we are expanding that. Since we dredged the river to 50 feet, which thank goodness we did that,
Right.
we're bringing in more and bigger ships. What does that mean? That $250 million investment, state, federal, and private, the Soybean Coalition put up $3 million to get it started. They put up private money. That puts $750 million in the pockets of America's farmers every year and lower freight costs for a $250 million investment. So we triple the investment every year just by the money, additional money the farmers earn. Of course, and of course that's taxed at the end of the day too. But if you look at where everything is going, this is America's superhighway, the Mississippi River.
Yes.
But we have to coordinate that with our rail system and with our tractor trailer systems where it all moves. We can grow our economy forward, but it's by this infrastructure. It is such a tremendous economic engine, that river and these export facilities.
So when you say water is the cheapest mode of transport, followed by rail, what's the drop off there? How much more expensive is rail?
If you look at a rail car from, say, Lackison, which is Lake Charles, to Mexico, somewhere between $7,000 and $9,000 per car.
Okay.
So per car, whatever that is. And so if you look at, I'd have to do the mathematics on it, but I would say it probably costs 2 to 3 times as much to move by rail as it does by barge, because when you start moving product, especially downhill, right, you can move it pretty inexpensively on barge. But rail is still a very good value, okay. And then truck. But if you look at the price of diesel and everything, that's why we have to. But the other part is that what we move by rail, generally you can't move by barge because it depends on where it comes from. So if you're coming out of the Midwest, a lot of areas aren't serviced by the river system.
Right.
And so it's pretty unique. So that's pretty much finite, what you're going to move. And so, but if you look at moving 160 rail cars, you simply don't have enough trucks, don't exist to move that much cargo.
Right.
Most of your bulk cargo, the majority of bulk cargo in America is moved by rail. Secondly, by water, but it's more efficient to move grain downhill by water. The Mississippi River, through our export facility, we're going to be handling about 65% of the grain exported by the entire United States. We hope to get to 70% within the next 5 years, just down this river system. And if you look at what we're doing, the facility at Lackison there and the other grain facilities working in Lake Charles, take the Louisiana rice and products from the Midwest to go out of the port of Lake Charles. We have 5 of the largest ports in the United States in Louisiana, 5 of the 14 largest ports in the United States in Louisiana. We need to take full advantage of that.
Yes, we absolutely do. To have the abundance of resources that we have here every day, that we're not maximizing those resources is a wasted day. Dr. Strain, I promise one day we're going to keep this segment to a segment. But there's a lot more to cover.
Okay.
Can you stick around for one more? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to keep Dr. Strain around for one more segment. I want to talk about the upcoming holidays. Earlier in the show, we talked about it from a entrepreneur's perspective or from a retailer's perspective. Let's talk about it from a Louisiana products perspective after we take the break. Before we get to the break, though, we're going to check news, traffic, and weather coming up in just a second. Got to remind you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. You know where to find them, Plank Road and Zachary, and then where I'll be right after the show today, Perkins at Bluebonnet. Doug and his team over at Complete Collision Center, they pride themselves on having certifications that they have the certifications that put them in the top 15% of body shops nationwide. They have the iCar Gold Class certification is what it's called. This puts them through a rigorous number of tests to make sure they're up to speed on the latest repair techniques, the latest safety intricacies of your car. Every car is built out to where you and your family are safe on the road. You get into an accident, some of those redundancies get knocked down. If it's not put back together safely, your family is more at risk when you get back out on the road. That's what Doug and his team do over at Complete Collision Center. Check them out online at CompleteCollision.com, CompleteCollision.com, or give them a call at 768-9898. 768-9898. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out Complete Collision Center and CompleteCollision.com. Let's get you to news. No. Wow. I thought gas went up 20 cents yesterday. Yeah, I know. But
So I'm being put on things that you should put in a crawfish boil. On top of sweet potatoes, Jason David says Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Byron said hot tamales put in the boil
I've never done
in the
No,
last
that
5
would
minutes.
fall apart.
What is he talking about? The candy? Or actual tamales?
Got to be actual tamales.
That would fall apart. The
Where
corn
you
would
get
fall
tamales
apart.
here in Louisiana?
Everywhere.
Like real ones?
Yeah, man, I grew up on Manuel's.
You can go to Doe's.
Doe's serves
Do
them up.
Mexicans make them?
Huh?
Do Mexicans make them?
You
Oh.
can't say that.
Yeah, I can.
No, you can't.
She's Mexican. She gets away with it.
Okay.
If Mexicans don't make the tamales, I don't want them.
Yeah, I was raised on Manuel's.
Yeah.
Byron says if you loosely wrap them in foil, they will not fall apart. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go home for Christmas and I'm going to ask my mom if she can make tamales and then I'll bring them and then you'll know what real, actual good tamales taste like.
Oh, you're setting me up for failure here.
Texas.
Because this is going to be one of those scenarios where there's what's authentic and then there's what nostalgically I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's not like what I know, then I'm going to be the a-hole.
It's going to be so much better tan what you know, though.
So, yes, Brussels sprouts and a crawfish boil are ridiculous. Ridiculous. As are, and this one's, well, very much underrated, green olives.
I don't like olives.
Mm.
But I love sweet potatoes, so I need to go to a crawfish boil that does that.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
I just need Mike
When's the
to invite
LSU
me
sale?
over for dinner. And make
Does
me-
Okay, I can do that. I can do that.
Does LSU still do their big sweet potato sale?
They do. Yeah, I don't know if they do it here because, it's at Chase. But they sell those potatoes every year.
Wait, it's not here? Did they used to have a big sale on campus?
Maybe, but the
Like-
Sweet Potato Research Farm is in Chase, Louisiana.
Okay.
About Winsburg.
Okay.
One of the premier
I could be wrong about it.
in the world.
It might have been. I'm remembering back to when I was a student, so we're talking years ago.
They probably did out of the Ag Center. But because a lot what they do, they'll take the really nice ones
Mhm.
in 45 boxes
Mhm.
and sell those.
Yeah.
That's always a holiday tradition.
Yeah. Sweet potatoes are so they're healthier than regular
Much
potatoes.
healthier.
They're better. They taste better. It's like regular potatoes you just quit.
I always make they call them Southwest sweet potatoes, and I just put them in the oven, and then I cut it open and I smash it, and then I put avocado, corn, black beans, and pico de gallo, and it's so good.
It's a lot going on.
It's good though.
Mm-hmm.
Byron says if they're frozen, he's talking about the Brussels sprouts. If they're frozen, it also acts to cool the crawfish a little so they won't overcook. Yeah, well, that's what the corn's for too. We throw frozen corn.
Corn in there.
Yeah.
Gotta have corn, so we go to the freezer and grab the corn and get the box of sweet potatoes.
But yeah,
I'll try to grow some more sweet potatoes this year. We keep some Irish potatoes. My dad used to grow some mean sweet potatoes.
Caitlin, I've actually never heard of raisins in tamales. Have y'all heard of that?
No.
I've never heard of that.
No. And I don't want to.
I don't like raisins, period. So,
Yeah.
when
Grapes
I
are just
bite
fine.
into an oatmeal cookie and it's oatmeal raisin and not
The
oatmeal
only
chocolate
place-
chip,
The only place I like a raisin is in an oatmeal raisin cookie. Oh, he's talking about the tamales.
but same principle.
I just can't imagine where it's not falling apart.
Wrap them in foil. He told you.
You gotta have garlic in there too. Onions, garlic.
Well, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Cook that garlic around.
Is this Don Molino?
Is that Molino?
Yeah, I
Right.
think it is.
10. I give him hell.
I love Don.
Don and I have been doing that show now 15 years.
Oh, really? He signed me up for y'all's well, I don't know if
The
you do
Daily
it too.
Voice?
The daily, yeah, he signed me up
The
for that.
Voice?
So now every morning I get a agriculture
There you go,
report.
see? Ag report.
We
My
used-
favorite.
We used to run the ag report when I was over at J-Bo.
Yeah.
Don Molino has a second grandbaby.
He does.
I saw that.
He does. Yeah.
Best grandpa.
Paw
besides mine. I'm just kidding. Don is like my Louisiana grandpa. My Galen said, "Don't knock it until you try it. Sweet morsels in the savory meat of the tamales. I'm sure it's good, but I like raisins.
Yeah.
So
So we're gonna have a nice gumbo. My brother will do the gumbo for Thanksgiving. We do turkey, we do gumbo.
you put potato salad in your gumbo or rice, or both?
Both. First time I saw that, I was just shocked.
Yeah.
I was in the western part of the state, and so gumbo's different. The roux is different because they have a lighter roux. We have a darker roux. On the Creole side.
All right, it is time to get a look at your forecast, and things are going to be cooling down. Today, we are expected to get up to about 79 degrees, overnight low tonight down to 52. Now, tomorrow, we're going to top out at 81, but there's a 50% chance of rain in the forecast for tomorrow, which is going to knock things down significantly. Friday night's overnight low is 52. Saturday's high is only 60. Saturday night's overnight low is going to be 38 degrees, topping out at 62 on Sunday, 60 on Monday. It's going to stay cool like this with a lot of rain all through next week. Right now, we're at 63 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge.
This is crazy. We had to replant all of our things. Planted them a month ago. None of them came up. So replanted about 2 days ago.
Is that
Normally
weather?
harvested. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that here. It's no one gets shit to get to whatever. 838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Continuing with Dr. Mike Strain, our ag commissioner. This is it's a conversation that gets started and it just keeps on going because there's just so much to talk about. Commissioner Strain, I want to get to some of the holiday stuff here in a little bit, but first, you were mentioning something actually right as we were coming back in from break, and it was actually where I wanted to go with this. The last time you were on, we were talking about how great harvesting was because the weather was cooperating. Now, once stuff comes out the ground, something else goes back in the ground. That's got to make it more difficult not having the rain on the front end now, right?
So what's happening? It's been very, very, very dry. Now we were very lucky. We got a little bit of rain that's helped our sugarcane crop because it was starting to look dry. And we're about 40% now complete on cane harvesting. We'll probably finish by at least the first week of January. Mm-hmm. So harvest is going very, very well because of the dry conditions. The issue we're having is on a number of our winter forage crops. For instance, if you plant ryegrass and wheat, as dry as it is, there's been, it's not been coming up very, very well. On my farm, we just tilled under and replanted all of our greens because they didn't come up. It was just too dry, and so we're going to try it again. Everything else, in the vegetable gardens, we irrigate. So we use almost a drip irrigation system. And this weather is very unusual, and what is being predicted throughout the state and specifically throughout the heartland of America is a very dry winter. Very dry winter.
Wait, what exacerbates that is if we don't get rain until it gets too cold, does that make it even worse by having rain when it freezes?
Because what you need is that for good growth of the plant and and good strength in the plant and good root structure, it needs to grow early under the warmer conditions and to be ready for the winter. Now, ryegrass does pretty well, wheat does pretty well in cooler climates, but it's got to be ready for that.
Right.
And of course, what we see normally by this time, it's been cool.
Yeah.
I mean, by this time, once we start harvesting cane, it's generally pretty cool. It's not gotten cool, and we just get down to 32 when we do, and we will probably in the next few days. But then that's just for a few hours and comes back up.
Right. What kind of window are we looking at to get everything planted? You said, nothing came up, so you redid it. What kind of window do you have in order to get it done so it can harvest?
Normally your planting window for any crops is short. And so normally 2 to 3 weeks. And what happens in the spring, it depends on whether you've got early beans or late beans or when you plant. But the planting window is fairly short, from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, especially if you start off, you go ahead and get your beans in the ground. And then what we're trying to do is do multiple crops. And as soon as you harvest the beans, then you will come back maybe with a corn crop or a fall crop. And so we're trying to double crop. And the whole idea is that if we can work into a continuous crop rotation, number one, it's better for the soil. Yeah. Number two, it's a better utilization of the land, and it's more carbon friendly. We are able to sequester more carbon from the atmosphere. And so the windows are very, very tight. And so weather plays in that fact a lot. And if you look at our spring crops, you have to wait until you have the right ground temperature. Temperature, and then you plant, and you've got to have the right conditions where it can't be too wet, or everything gets all clumped up and clogged up and that sort of thing. And as soon as you plant, you need some moisture. So the farmers, the only individual who watches the temperature of the ground and looks at the days and then plants, the seed and the fertilizer, and then looks up to heaven and prays.
I mean,
a lot.
Outside of that, there's nothing else that can be in your hands. Ag Commissioner Dr. Mike Strain's with us for a few more minutes. Dr. Strain, I want to get to holidays coming up, but first, y'all just had a unwanted pesticide.
Absolutely. And that's probably about the fifth one we've had. And so it's very successful. And we did that at Southeast Research Station in Franklinton, Louisiana, LSU Ag Center. They've been very gracious in allowing us to set up on those facilities. And we don't know how much we picked up yet. We'll have those numbers in a couple of days, but generally between 30 and 40 tons per pickup. So far, we've picked up 274 tons, not counting this week's pickup. And so if you look at some of the things, I saw cans of DDT, and you have cans of every kind of chemical. Yeah, and some of those cans have been around 50, 60, 70 years somewhere.
What do you do with them?
Well, we have a company, a professional company. They come in and everything is incinerated to above 1,700 degrees, totally breaks down the compound. So they have made it's totally destroyed to get it out of the environment. And you figure you get to 300 tons, you realize how much that is that we've taken out of the environment. And the whole idea is to get it picked up, because if not, over time, if those old metal cans would, just break down, or say you have some crazy rat chews through a plastic container, right? Mm-hmm. You can get contamination of the ground, or we don't want contamination of groundwater. It's just a good idea to get this up, and it's open for homeowners. So we had one lady, she's a member of the Master Gardener Club, and she went to all of her friends in Folsom and picked up all of their unwanted chemicals and brought it there. And, it's an anonymous thing. We don't charge for it, and we put it and we just get rid of it and get it out of the environment. And so it's really a great thing. We register all restricted use chemicals, comes through our agency under the Advisory Commission of Pesticides. Mm-hmm. And a portion of that registration fee every year goes into an account to pay for this. So overall, we spend between $275,000 to $300,000 a year picking up these unwanted pesticides and getting them out of the environment. If not, they wouldn't get picked up.
And this isn't just like a big farm sort of thing. This is the individual farm, but this is the personal use.
And farmers.
Yeah.
So so it's for farmers, commercial applicators, licensed applicators, and homeowners. Okay. And we will pick it up. They just come up. It's anonymous. Look, and we'll take it off your hands and clean it up out the environment. And we do it at different areas across the state, and we are going to continue to do it. Because, when I was in private practice, I can remember having livestock deaths because of some restricted use chemical or product. I had one episode where our cattle got into arsenic, and the container of arsenic was up on a hill, and over years it leached through the container, and it dripped down the hill. And what it did, arsenic has a salty taste, and the cattle ate the grass contaminated with the arsenic, and many of them died. Yeah. And we had to, first of all, figure out it was an arsenic kill, and then find the compound and take care of that. So it does happen. And one of the things, if you go on there and you see the symptoms that you associate with arsenic, you look for the old corn crib, because arsenic powder was used to fight boll weevils and fight them in the turn of the century. And so the corn crib might be gone. So you say to the farmer, where was the corn crib? Well, it's over there. And you go and you start digging, and you see a white powder in the ground. Well, there's your arsenic.
Oh, my.
And so we're always working to get these things up, off the farm, and out of the household if they're no longer needed, and especially the stuff that might have been there 40, 50, 60 years.
Yeah, no, and from the outside looking in, we would never think of that. We got Ag Commissioner Dr. Mike Strain for about 4 more minutes. We started by talking sweet potatoes and certified Louisiana, but honestly, let's broaden that message out. That applies across the board as we move into the holiday season.
Absolutely. We say buy fresh, buy local, buy certified Louisiana products. Make it a local holiday. If you look at some of the things, for instance, Ready, Set Gumbo, Uncle Larry's, or if you look at all the many different products that we have, the local jams, the local jellies, buy many of your products as you can locally that support your local economy. fresh is always better. You know, on strain farms, you know, we're going to be having fresh corn on the cob. Well, I say fresh, it's this season's corn on the cob. Whatever we pull out of the garden, and a big gumbo to go with the turkey, and of course those Louisiana sweet potatoes.
And it's the mess. It's going to be the overriding message throughout, and it's not just when you're heading the farmer's market or when you're hitting the grocery store. It's across the board, wherever you can buy certified Louisiana and anything. We want to keep everything as local as possible, but especially when it comes to our foods, and it's so abundant and available.
And that's how you grow. Look, we've grown the crawfish market. Remember, because we buy Louisiana crawfish. You know, you think about shrimp. You want the shrimp that comes off of our coast.
Yeah.
You want our sweet potatoes, our crabs. You know, when you look at seafood, Louisiana oysters, all the different products that we have, Louisiana rice tastes much better. But that's how we grow our economy. And every dollar you spend locally circulates 5 more times. And so that's a big, big deal. And of course, you know, and we're about food, we're about tradition. But again, fresh, local, certified Louisiana products.
Right, it's an area where we do things better than everybody else in the world.
We have
People come here.
We have more than 500 companies now that are certified Louisiana. You think about Couzan's Barbecue, or if you think of Tony Chachere's, or you think about Tabasco, you think about all these wonderful products that participate in our different programs. And so, you know, you look and you see the sign at your grocery store, Klein Peter Milk, fresh, local, certified Louisiana.
I love it, and the big red logo is readily available and easy to see as well. One more before I get you out of here, and I know we got less than 2 minutes left, so I'm really squeezing this one in. What's the next one to come to harvest? What's the next product?
The next product, of course, we're finishing up sugarcane.
Right.
Okay. And so now, crawfish.
Oh.
It's time. Think about it. Oh, what? Yeah, so all those, you know, we've done the second crop of rice, the ratoon crop.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, you know, we cut rice twice, and then it's crawfish. So crawfish time is on its way.
Looking
and
forward.
What? I mean, look, I'm ready for some crawfish. Yes, there's nothing more Louisiana than crawfish.
And it's primed to be a good crawfish season.
It's going to be great because right now, you know, we've had a really good rice crop. We've had good weather. It's nice and warm. The crawdaddies are growing very, very well. You know, and so the crawfish feed off of the rice stubble.
Yes.
In there. And so, you know, we're probably going to have some early crawfish. And then next year, we're going to have some really, really, really nice crawdaddies.
Looking forward to it. Look, I try to, in the Haldane house, we try to temper ourselves and say not until Valentine's Day is the beginning of our crawfish season. We don't dive in before that, but I think this year we might have to.
Might just have to do it a little early.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, we can't wait.
If all things are ready, then we'll be in. He is Ag Commissioner Dr. Mike Strain. We always appreciate the time, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming in. Absolutely. Always an informative segment, always an entertaining segment, or as the case has been the last 2 times out, segments. Yeah, segments.
Okay.
So, yeah, not a problem. We're always happy as long as the content is there, right? All right. We're not done yet, though. We got to take a quick break. We're going to check your money now. We'll check traffic one more time. Coming back to close it out next, what are we talking about in our final segment? Well, a new literacy program launched yesterday. We got a little audio for you and where it's headed. We'll talk about that next right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Right now, let's break for your money now.
So how long can you talk? A lot longer than you can sit.
That's 3 hours every day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Are you hunting your own turkey?
No, I don't. I buy a butterball.
Yeah.
But I have seen some nice turkeys, but no, I'm not going to. I feed turkeys. I feed deer. I don't shoot them.
When we lived, there's this house that we lived in San Antonio that had like a bunch of like woodlands behind it. So we'd always have deer in our yard, and then like we'd have turkeys come out, and I'm like, dude, let's just get our turkey for Thanksgiving from the back.
It's not a butterball. It will not be a butterball. No. I like that big old butter.
There's a lot of wildlife in that. Like it was like
I feed my wildlife a lot.
Yeah.
We had
expensive.
It is.
Yeah, we do as
Well, the deer might have to have an accident because they've been raiding the garden.
Uh-huh.
They've been tearing through the electric fences. We put up
my
a.
gosh.
Oh yeah, and they'll mow it. I mean, not nibble it, mow it. Yeah. Take it all out.
Well, if it's a vegetable garden, forget about it.
Oh yeah. Oh, they go right
Don't
down.
jump the highest fence.
Mm-hmm.
Get in
And you can tell when they touch it because they take the fence out.
there.
Yeah. So yeah, Mr. Deer might have to have an accident. My brothers can take care of that. We wouldn't do it, but it's called predation.
Yeah.
But the turkeys and everything else, nah.
You get butterball?
Oh yeah. And the doves. I'll show you how wild my dove are. Now that's right outside my door. I think the dove is scared of me.
Oh yeah.
See them all sitting on the fence?
Yeah.
Just chilling.
Just chilling, like no, you know what it is?
care in the
It's
world.
like, hey, dude, come on now, buy some more seed. I buy seed in the 50-pound bags.
Cuts 4, 5, and 6 for the last segment.
Thank y'all.
No, thank you.
Ew.
Always fantastic.
Tell Jen, I don't know what y'all can do with that, man.
No, keep it coming. Keep it coming.
All good. Y'all be careful. Great Thanksgiving,
You
right?
too. Thank
You too.
Have fun when you go home.
I won't go for Thanksgiving, but for Christmas I will.
You're going for Thanksgiving?
My aunt is going to New Orleans, so I'm gonna meet her there.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
For Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt and my cousin and my uncle are gonna go.
Yep. We always have family over on the farm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And my brother does most of the cooking. I do the turkey. He does most everything else. Oh, you got to see him when he cooks crawfish or shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the way to do it. I get started, he moves me out the way, tells me I'm going to. It's like, well,
Hey, I stay out of the way for Thanksgiving. I don't, because it's not about who does it better. It's about this is not my time. I'll go sit.
I understand.
I will sit. I'll close my eyes and wake me up when it's time for time to actually eat. So
It's like
yeah.
if I'm going to do a good welding job on a piece of farm equipment, I just put it together and I get the weld machine out. My brother says, you're going to mess it up. And he does it perfect every time.
Is he older than
Oh, yeah. It's been going on for 50 years. Take care.
Yeah.